Okay, welcome everybody to a lesson on binomials. Binomials are two-part expressions, or three-part sometimes, although I'm not sure. Wouldn't that be a trinomial? I'm not sure. But it's usually, let's not say noun, it's usually word, conjunction, word. Now here it's noun, conjunction, noun, and I suppose maybe that's one of the most common forms of a binomial, but it's not by any means the only one, because we have preposition, conjunction, preposition quite often. Preposition, conjunction, preposition. So it's not just noun, conjunction, noun. It might be preposition, conjunction, preposition, and the middle word isn't always a preposition. If you say day after day, year after year, time after time, I would call that a binomial, and actually it's noun, preposition, noun. So it doesn't have to be a conjunction, but it usually is. So let's look at some, because these guys are great for making you sound natural and fluent. So let's start with heads or tails, a very obvious binomial. This is what we say before we toss a coin or flick a coin, which is when you take a coin. I haven't got a coin, but you know what I mean. You take a coin and you flick it, and you then do that and you say, okay, heads or tails. And it's when you want to make a decision about something and you've got two options, and or maybe you're choosing who will go first. For example, in a football match, at the beginning the referee usually tosses a coin, and if you win the toss, then you choose which side, which half you want your team to begin defending in. And so that's why they toss a coin at the beginning of a football match. But you say heads or tails when you toss a coin, okay? And we also do have the expression, it's a toss-up between, and this is used metaphorically, when you've got two options that are equally desirable. Say, for example, you've got two options tonight, a Chinese restaurant or an Indian restaurant. You might say, what should we do tonight? It's a toss-up between a Chinese restaurant and an Indian restaurant, yeah? So it's when you're going to give two options, a toss-up between X and Y, and they're two equally desirable options, okay? Now, you might say something like this: the cat was indoors earlier, but now he's out and about again. And this out and about means outside doing your usual business, going about your usual business. Yeah, it doesn't mean doing anything specific. It just means that you are out doing your usual business. You're outside. Yeah, so maybe somebody was in hospital for a very long time and they were in bed for a very long time. You might say, so he was in hospital for 3 weeks and he couldn't get out of bed, but now he's out and about again. Okay, so that's how we use this out and about. Now we've got another idiom for when two people are really dissimilar, are really unlike. And what we say is, they are like chalk and cheese. These two things, chalk, which you use for writing on a blackboard, not a whiteboard, but a blackboard, chalk we call that, and cheese, that thing which you eat sometimes, they're not very similar. Yeah, they're not the same colour, they're not even the same texture, they're really dissimilar things. And so if you say they are identical twins, but in terms of personality, they are like chalk and cheese, that means they're completely different in terms of personality. But in terms of appearance, they are as like as two peas, or they are like two peas in a pod. Yeah, and so we've got this, which means the opposite. This means they are really similar. And so identical twins usually look like two peas in a pod, or they look as like as two peas. And I particularly like this one because I've never seen, you don't see it anywhere else, as like as. And my students will probably know that as and like are quite similar, confusing words anyway. But as like as two peas, yeah, and that's what you say when two people are really similar. It may mean physically similar, it may mean similar in terms of personality. The same with this one. It may mean physically, well, no, we don't use that one with physical, sorry. We use chalk and cheese really with personality. That's usually what it usually applies to. When two people have completely dissimilar personalities, they are like chalk and cheese. Okay, so maybe one person is really depressed all the time and the other person's a hopeless optimist. They are like chalk and cheese. Okay, this one, every nook and cranny. We use this for when you are, usually when you are looking somewhere or searching somewhere, or maybe you are going somewhere, and it means every corner, every little place. So this this shed has a lot of different places where I might have lost something. Yeah, there are loads of places around this shed. There's a lot of rubbish and stuff piled up around the shed. And so if I lose my keys, I have to search in every nook and cranny. Yeah, well, I have to search every nook and cranny. You don't need an in there. You can say, I have to search every nook and cranny. And it means every corner of this room, every tiny part of this room. Okay? But you might say something like this. We went to, perhaps you went to a new destination on holiday, and you might try to discover all the different places in the forest. You might search every nook and cranny of the forest to see which place is the nicest. Yeah, to find a really nice place to have a picnic. And so you search every nook and cranny of the forest for a nice place to have a picnic. So this every nook and cranny, usually it's when you're looking for something or you're searching somewhere. Okay, if you say something like this, he is Liverpool born and bred. This means he grew up and was raised, brought up in Liverpool. Yeah, and so it means he speaks with a Liverpool accent, certainly. It means he probably supports Liverpool Football Club. Yeah, and that's the idea. If you say he's London born and bred, he's probably got a London accent, a Cockney accent. He was brought up in London. He loves London. You know, there's that idea to it as well, that a Liverpudlian, you know, if he's Liverpool born and bred, he probably loves Liverpool as well. And so this born and bred, when somebody is from that place, they love that place, and they are a typical example of someone from that place. Very similar one here, because you could say he's Liverpool through and through, and that would be really similar to born and bred, because this through and through means completely, in every way. Yeah, I would put it in every way. In fact, in every way or completely, totally. And so this through and through, he's a gentleman through and through. That means he's a perfect gentleman, a complete gentleman. He's so polite. He's always holding the door open for the lady. He's putting his jacket on the puddle, maybe. But he's a gentleman in every way. He's a gentleman through and through, okay? And you can certainly say he's Liverpool through and through. That would mean he's completely Liverpool. He's so Liverpool, yeah, perhaps he loves Liverpool. Yeah, and you can use this through and through in slightly other ways. So you don't have to say just he's from Liverpool, or he's a Liverpudlian through and through, or he's a gentleman through and through. They both work very well. But you can also say I know him through and through. And that means I know him in every way. I know him completely. I know every little bit about his personality. I know every nook and cranny of his personality.